Hi there, how you doing? This is Chris over at 3D Palace, and I am going to be showing you how to do the detailing section of the torso. Now, as you know from our previous adventures, we've modelled most of this beast, well, all of this beast so far up to here, of which there is plenty, and of course we've been rigging it too, which is why it looks so goddamn awesome. So, in the next part of the tutorial, we're going to start, which is this part, we're going to start detailing this. So I'm going to hide unselected straight away. Okay, because we only need this part. Now remember, this is a static part, so even though it looks like all funky and bits can move, no bits can really move. Alright? Now, what I need to do before I do anything else is use auto grid, and I want to draw out a surface just to model my detail parts on. Okay, that way they'll not go all the way down to the floor. What I mean by this is if I didn't have auto grid on, right, and I made a box that I was going to start building my parts on, and I was like, oh, that looks like the right area. I feel like it's all the way down there, and then I'd have to move it, and I'm lazy, so now I don't have to. Okay, so with this here, what I'm going to do is drag it across so I can get a good idea of exactly how big the pieces I'm making are, of which I only need to build 2, by the way, okay? And then I can decide which one I want to use for which specific part. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a large part and a small part, and the small part is going to be just a cylinder, and it's going to have one hide segment, and I'm just going to pull it out to any old size for the moment because I can adjust it in my modify panel. And I think I'm going to want a radius of about 2.5 for the scale I'm using. The scale you're using could be well different. Height of about 1.5, and I am going to zoom in on it. Right click, convert to editable polygon, and then what I'm going to do is just select the top polygon just here, hit F4 so I can see my polygonal view, or whatever you want to call it, and then if I press Control and select by edge, that'll select these outer ones, because remember we can't loop or ring those, yeah? Then if I hit chamfer, and I'm going to reduce my chamfer to about 0.25, like so, and that'll give me just a gentle chamfer on the top, like that. And I don't really need to do very much else, but if I want to kind of bring it out a little bit more and do a bit more to it, I'll wait for autosave to stop. I never turn off autosave, I've had too many problems in the past with it, so don't worry about that. Wait, there we go. Now I'm going to go to my modelling tools and swift loop. I'm just going to grab it here, like that. And then what I can do is I can grab this edge, if I just ring it. Sorry, I mean loop it, not ring it. Okay, now remember what I said, it won't actually work that way, so I'll hit F3. See if we can get the bottom polygon. There it is. Now then, hit F3 again, and I'm going to hit delete because I don't want it. Select this border, and I'm going to just scale it up a little bit like that, and then we get this. You see this rather handy dandy little edge just here, and I want that because it basically gives us a chamfer that will connect it to the rest of the model. If I just pull back and then hit F4, you can see it doesn't have that kind of stark contrast of it hitting the model. Right then, okay, there we go. Now, with this one created, I now need to create a second, bigger detail piece. So, first things first, I'm going to call this a simple rivet. So I'll probably just call it a tool. Tool Maynard J. No, wait. That was a good one. Tool simple rivet. Okay, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a second tool, and this one will be our more detailed one. So I'm going to create a cylinder, and I want one that's roughly the size of the inside of that box. Okay, so about that big, and I'm going to drag it by an arbitrary height. That's that one, and then I'm going to give it some some sides. So probably take it to about 24 sides, like so, and then right click, convert to editable polygon. Okay, so that gives us a good starting shape to go with here. Now I'm going to use some booleans on this. Now, I'm loath to use booleans on large models, but for pieces like this, a boolean's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cylinder, any old size cylinder like this. Bring it straight down like that, and whoops. Then I'm going to drag this up like so. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it at that height for the moment. I think that'll be fine. Okay, now I'm going to hit F4, just so I can kind of get it where I need it, and right click, convert to editable polygon, and I'm going to put in 2 swift loops. So I'm going to put in one here and one here. Okay, so the bottom swift loop first, I grab this, and I'm just going to use my scale tool, but I could also use my outline tool, like so, if you don't feel too confident using the scale tool. So I'll just bring that down to about 0.1, I think should be enough. There we are. See how that looks? No, minus 0.1, silly me. There we go, like that. And then at the top here, we'll change this one's outline to 0.1. So like that. And then, just to avoid any issues we get with this, I'm going to bring it straight up like that. Okay, and that way it's not going to basically intrude on the rest of our model. Now I am going to use a swift loop. My swift loop is going to come in just below this, because basically, as we all know, booleans and pro-booleans are completely crap. We all hate them, so we need to give it as much help as we possibly can so that it doesn't ruin our model. Now then, that looks like as good a position as any. I mean, it's just the first one I came up with, but it'll do. I'm going to take my pivot, effect pivot only, and I'm going to align my pivot to this. So I don't need to worry about the orientation or the scale, just the pivot itself. And now if I've got angle snap on, which is just here, so I can click it or press A, and then I'm going to rotate, so I just hit E for the hotkey for rotate. Holding shift, I'm going to drag this 90 degrees, and then I'm going to make myself 3 copies, like so, and that gives me as good a place as any to work on this from. So now what I'm going to do is, just one moment. Hi, sorry for this disparate moment here, because I just paused and so I have to remember where it was. Right, I'm going to click this polygon here. Only joking, I knew exactly where I was. Wait for autosave again. And I know this is like a funky old shape, but we're going to get it to look good, don't worry. Okay, now control select by edge. I want to chamfer this. Now the reason I'm doing it all this way is because I will get a much nicer shape. So if I just chamfer this down to roughly where that edge there is, you see that? Now I'm not getting it quite right, so what I'm going to do is just use my little arrows for this, just until they kind of match up like that, see? And then click tick. So my chamfer will now continue around my model, which is what I wanted. Now as for this part here, I'm going to inset it all the way in to about there, like that. And then I'm going to just bevel it down and in. So bevel down, in, and that gives us that shape. Okay, so just wasted an awful lot of time on this, and you probably think to yourself, well, why? Well, let's make our shape from it. First things first, I want to just have a look around the outside of the model, because I think I would like to move these just a couple of degrees. So I'm going to angle snap off, hit E, and it'll just give me a chance to just do this before I've kind of concreted their positioning. There we are. Now I can come back to this and just get my polygon here and here and here and here, here and here, and there. Okay, so now I'm just going to extrude them straight out. Not very far, just a little bit. There we are. And then if I select my top edges here, so there and there, just right click out of extrude, and there, and at this point I'm holding down Control. Now the entire hard bit of this really is just creating your prop and making it look like it's actually, you know, going to fit in with the rest of your model. So this part that we're going to reuse is basically some sort of a riveting piece. Okay, now I'm going to Control select by polygon and grow and then shrink. Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Never mind. I'll just do a marquee grab then instead. So, oh god, it's on circle marquee. Don't want that. Change that by holding it down until it gets too rectangular. There we are. And all I'm doing is making sure I have all these polygons selected. This is quite important, because even the little details tend to stand out if you're doing like a really not high detail, is it? Yeah, well, high detail model. Okay, so I am going to now Control select by edge, and as you can see, if I just come in, these edges here are now selected. Now we don't have this part selected yet, but which is a bit of a problem because I could do with it being selected. So I think I'll just go around and select these. Actually, no, what am I doing? I don't need those selected at all. And I'm going to click chamfer. And it should pick up the last chamfer we did, which is that much. We don't really need that much, so I'm going to change it to about 0.06. There we go. And there's some parts I really don't need chamfering, like these middly bits, so I can deselect those. I mean, you can leave them if you want, but to be honest, you may as well get rid of them now while you have the chance. I know at this point, you know, an extra 8 polygons is going to make very little difference, but hey, we don't know how many times we're going to be using this. And it's like the wafer thin mint in life, in the meaning of life, you know. Eventually one polygon can be a few too many. Okay. There we are. Now, because we've done this, we can now go over here and make sure all these attach to each other. Otherwise, we'll have to do this several times and it's a pain in the ass. And I'm going to go down to the Pro Boolean. So if I go from standard to compound, go to Pro Boolean. Before I do that, select this, then select Pro Boolean. There we go. And I'm going to start picking. Yoink. Oh no, it has all completely vanished. What is going on here? I believe it's because my polygon is open. Hang on a second, I'll turn that off. I've often had this problem before, so I'll just quickly isolate this selection. Yeah, that was helpful, thank you for that. Bloody thing. Isolate selection. Oh no, it is a single solid object, go figure. However, at least that gives me the chance to remove all these horrible bottom polygons that we don't need anymore. Remember, the whole point of the 3D Palace tutorial is, if I make a mistake, you get to enjoy it with me. Yay. That's good, isn't it? Bet you think to yourself, yeah, that was worth all that money. Watching some bald dude make mistakes. That's the bald. I prefer follically challenged, but there you go. Click grow and delete. Let me give a quick shout out to my homies there in the 3D Palace IRC chat room. Hello 3D Palace homies in the IRC chat room. I don't know what they're doing in there, they just tend to lurk in there. Talking about stuff. You're missing out if you're not in the 3D Palace chat room though. That's where the cool things happen, man. Okay, end isolate. No, I said end isolate. Silly thing. Right, now, let's get the bits I'm working on again. There we go, and re-isolate the selection. So you can see where this detail piece, this little tiny thing we've been working on is. Yeah, tiny. So, over here, just make sure there's no modifiers on any of these. Can't see any. So let's do a Boolean. Pick my up around B, pachoink, there we go. Now, because this is a hollow object, we're going to get this shape, I think. I'm going to do a fill on the bottom of this first. So I'll just collapse it a minute. and then stick a border on it all. This will basically close the shape down. It's not a tidy way of doing it by any stretch of the imagination, but it means this is now technically classed as a solid object as far as 3ds Max is concerned. So now I can go to Boolean and pick my operand B. There, and now we get this almost tidy shape. Now you will notice there are some errors on our mesh, and anyone who's used Boolean before will understand that errors happen all the goddamn time. So that's okay, because if you remember, we have a lot of symmetry going on in our model, so we can fix this Scooby-Doo style. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab, well look, these two bits here, you see them? And I'm going to detach them, and I'm going to detach them as a clone. Okay, so now we have a copy. And the good thing about this copy is that if I use rotate on it, you'll notice that it fits into that space there. Well, okay, so firstly I'll select the right piece, turn on angle snap, and just move it, but not that way, this way. I love that. I should make an entire tutorial series entitled How to Clean the Hell Up After Booleans. Okay, so now I can attach this, twink, and then if I do a Control A and just select all my verts, I can weld it. Boink, and it's fixed. Okay, and this also gets rid of all our damaged pieces as well. Now there can be a bit of an issue if you look, it's got rid of a little bit too many, but if I just go into here, control, well, select all my verts, go to weld, and just reduce the amount to maybe 0.75 instead. There, we don't lose quite as many verts, but it still fixes our model. Yay! I'll look over here. There we go, and now you can see it's all a single element again, which is what we want. Single element means we're not going to be getting hideous errors in our mesh. Now, see this little fella here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. How long have I been recording? 17 minutes, good God. I'm going to go over here to my object paint, and I'm going to make a list. So I click here where it says edit object list, and my list will appear. Now, because I've been doing booleaning and I'm not a complete moron, I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save it as a workbench. So I'm going to go to my model files and click that one, and yes, there we go. Now, wait for the save to finish, quite important. I'm going to pick that, right click to stop picking, or just click anywhere else. Now over here I'm going to paint with selected objects on this, so just click here, you can see, bam. Now, not with selected objects, sorry, paint with objects from list. So now if I select that, you see we're painting that onto here. Now the problem is the scale's really big, right? So if I just click there, first thing I can do is just bring the scale right down like that. Okay, and then get rid of it. So I know now that having a scale of about 15 uniformly across it is going to work fine. So what can I do with that? Well, I could just put these in here for a start, so one there and one there. And the thing is, because we're using these shapes, or whatever it is you want to call them, these rivet parts on other parts of the model, we're going to get uniformity here, because I've said it before, you know, the grand robot building companies of whoever the hell made this aren't going to have like different tools and different bolts and different stuff for every single part. No, what they're going to do is they're going to use as many parts as possible from the same damn place. Right, now over here, 1, 2, that's 2 near the edge, 2, 3, and 4, let's look at that. That is really wonky, don't like that. So 1 there, and 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. Okay, so there we go, so now we've got this shape. Looks a bit like St Cuthbert's Cross, if you know what St Cuthbert's Cross is, rather interestingly. But I think that's just a strange coincidence. I wasn't actually trying to design St Cuthbert's Cross, so... Okay, let's just do that. And what I'm going to do when it comes to the actual detailing segment is I'm actually going to do the detailing by 1/2 at a time, so then I can just copy the details straight across. Alright, now what I want to do is take these parts over here and I'm going to un-isolate, so end isolate, and obviously everything reappears as if by magic, and I'm going to take this down here to where our tool parts are, so with these being down here, I can ever get them in the right bloody place. There we go. Starting to get there. I could have done this a number of easier ways, but I'm not going to. Okay, so these drop into here, and now we've got these nice pieces, see? So detail part. So now let's give it a name. This is cylinder 1, 2, 3 at the moment, so this will be tool detail end cap. Okay, so now we've got another tool for our tool unit. Now, if I go over to our list, I can now pick that and have it on there. And if I change my scale now back to 100, there we are, and then go over here, I'm going to get rid of that, and isolate or hide unselected or whatever. I'm not really bothering with layers because I hardly ever use them. Okay, so now I can just start painting things on. See, now you can't see it because it's hidden. No, that seems like a terrible jib, but watch, unhide all. I'm just kind of showing you that because you have to keep the parts you're using unhidden too when it's referencing them. Okay, so hide unselected again. Go over to here, and let's get this right. Right, so we've got our simple rivet and we've got our end cap. We've got a 100% scale on this, and over here we're doing paint with objects in list. So now what that means is we can start drawing on our details. Hang on a second. Damn thing. 3ds Max is having fun throwing me an error, which is cool. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause and come back in the next part, because I think I'm going to need to reload my model in. So we'll pretend I've edited this out all cunningly, and I shall see you in the next part.